Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms. So many different fabulous ways to invest in real estate. And today, we're going to talk about one of the oldest ways that people have been deriving benefit from real estate since the beginning of time. It's farmland and how you can participate on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
If you love real estate and have always wanted to own your own business, listen up. The Real Estate Guys and their panel of experts want to teach you how to go full-time fast in the real estate syndication business. These next few years may go down in history as one of the best times ever to acquire investment real estate. There are deals everywhere if you know where to look and how to assemble the resources. The Secrets of Successful Syndication seminar will show you how to make big money doing big deals from a team of experts that have syndicated projects totaling more than $1 billion. Don't wait for someone to give you a raise or create a job for you. Attend the Secrets of Successful Syndication and learn how to build a team, raise capital, find deals, and make full-time money in 6 months or less. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events. All the big players use syndication as a way to diversify risk, optimize profits, and earn big money. You can too. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click on events.
Welcome to the Real Estate Guys radio show. I'm your host, Robert Helms. With me, as usual, it's our financial strategist and co-host, Russell Gray.
Hey, Robert.
We love to talk real estate, and that's been great. The last few weeks have been a Freedom Fest and met all kinds of amazing people. And, you know, these shows are a little noisy because of that, but that's because it's a vibrant atmosphere. And one of the folks we were able to run into is our good friend, Karsten. Now, you don't know Karsten yet. You haven't met him on our program, but we're going to tell you a little bit about what he does because it is fascinating. It's farmland. We've talked a lot about agriculture in the last few years, but this is pretty interesting stuff.
Well, it is. And you know, there's so many different things. We've been talking for a long time. Of course, at our Future Money and Wealth Conference, we talked about, you know, the future of money and wealth. What an interesting concept with a title like that. But the idea that you may want to take a look at some strategies for diversifying your portfolio and taking advantage of international options, getting into real assets, you know, things that are tangible, physical, income producing. You know, we talk about real estate, you know, typical real estate investing, rental real estate investing. You've got to go find a marketplace, a location where there's jobs, where people have incomes, where there is the right mix of supply and demand so that you have, you know, occupancy. You have to get a lot of things right geographically. When you invest in a commodity like some type of form of produce, you don't have to really get the geography right from an economy point of view because the product can be shipped wherever it needs to be consumed. The focus is really on other forms of geography, making sure that the environment is correct, that there's enough water, you know, the soil, and there's other things that you have to know. But like anything, you know, there's a learning curve, but then what you're really ultimately doing, just like when you invest in stocks or anything else, or even an apartment building, unless you're planning on managing it yourself, you are investing in both the asset and the operator.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And, you know, most of us don't think about farmland as investing. We might drive by a farm. We might hear about, you know, particular produce that is the latest, greatest thing. And yet we don't think there's an opportunity for us. And mostly that's because there hasn't been. Most farming businesses are big businesses. It's a lot of capital. It's a lot of land, a lot of infrastructure, a lot of science. But in this case, there is more and more opportunity for like the micro farmer and those kinds of things. So it's just a way to open your mind to real estate. I'll tell you what, in our audience, this has been kind of a resonating message. People have realized that there's never going to be a time in history where humans aren't going to need food and calories.
Right.
And so it's a proven commodity, not just for 5 years or 10 years, but for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years. And the technology behind it and the ability for the individual to play has never been better.
Well, you know, we talk a lot about population growth, demographics, migration patterns, all those things when it comes to real estate. And what you've got is a world where the population growth is occurring in places maybe you wouldn't want to invest in real estate. But those people still need to be fed.
Right.
And so you can invest in the real estate that grows the food, that feeds the population wherever it happens to be, so you can tap into population growth where it is without necessarily having to invest in the real estate where the population growth is happening. So that's an interesting component. You know, a few years back, before Mr. Trump became President Trump, when he was just Donald Trump, the real estate mogul, we wanted to have a chance to go see him, and he was speaking at a land conference that we went to, and we covered that, and it was all about farming. And it was mostly about U.S. farming.
Yeah.
And there's some issues with U.S. farming because of regulation, because of some of the things that are going on, things we didn't really understand and certainly aren't expert on, not enough to comment on today. But it made the financial model for getting involved in farmland investing in the U.S. more challenging.
Sure.
And we discovered that while we were there. Concurrent to that, we were exploring offshore options. We've been very interested in international real estate for many, many, many years. Even before the financial crash, we were very interested in that. And as we got to know people like Simon Black, and he began to talk about planting international flags, and then we met David Sewell, and we learned a little bit about how he had come from Canada and moved into Latin America, and he'd gotten involved in agriculture. Of course, in Belize now, there's farmland, and there's agricultural opportunities in Belize. The world is changing, and we're looking at where can we go to catch a trend and where the environment is still conducive to making these investments. And so we go to these shows and we look for different people, and somewhere along the line, we met Karsten, we heard about what he was doing, and it's a very, very unique type of deal. But it's not the first time we've looked at what's going on in Latin America, right? We had Juan on the show way back when, talking about Uruguay. And going back to that farm conference in Iowa way back in the day, there was a guy we met there who was from Paraguay.
Yeah.
And we started to begin to understand one of the unique propositions in that part of South America is the water supply. And if you think about it, one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable commodities on earth is fresh water. When you think about agriculture, what's the most important thing you've got to have to pull that off?
The water.
You got to have the water. And so we discovered, and I didn't know this then, but there's a tremendous supply of fresh water in this particular part of the world, which makes it ideal for agriculture. And it's not too far away from major markets. And of course, with today's shipping technology, things can, get where they need to go. So it's just opened up our minds to, hey, we really want to begin to explore this, because you can combine offshore strategy with land banking, with agricultural income producing commodity that you can ship wherever the population growth goes.
Even potential residency in another country. So there's a lot of ways to do it. Robert Kiyosaki on the show, and he gave the example of his friend who moved out of Canada to go produce avocados in Latin America, and he said the line was, well, I have more faith in avocados than I do in the Canadian dollar.
Yeah.
And that's just a mindset. So, over the years, the many, many years, crops have been money, have been an exchange of value, have been a great thing to barter with. And today, there's a global need for all kinds of fruits and vegetables and nuts and beans and all kinds of stuff. And so I'm not saying that everybody should be in agriculture, but I am saying it's worth your consideration, because it's a need that's been proven, and it's just another way that real estate can make sense.
Absolutely. Again, it just goes back to this notion that, well, things like Bitcoin and cutting edge, bleeding edge technology are interesting, and if you hit the right one, you can do great. But there's technologies, and my dad was in technology, and he came out, he met an engineer, and he created a product that you could transmit data over the power lines that are already hardwired in the building of your property.
Long before Wi-Fi.
Well, that was the whole problem, right? So he's busy developing a whole business model and developing the technology. He's got hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in this technology. And just as they're coming out, Wi-Fi came out. And all of a sudden, you no longer needed hardwired to connect machines to talk to each other, and his entire model went away. To your point earlier, there are certain businesses that are likely to never go away as long as human beings have basic human needs. Obviously, real estate is one of them, and that's why we're big on it. And even inside the space of real estate, there are things like energy and commodities that come out of the ground and things that grow. Well, when you think about the idea of creating a renewable resource, you think about oil, or you think about any form of mining that you're going to pull metals or whatever it is out of the ground, that is a depletion. You're depleting the resource, and it can't really be renewed. You have to go find new sources, and that means there's a lot of investment in exploration and finding new areas that you can find whatever it is you're looking for to dig up. But with crops, that's a renewable resource. And with crop rotation, again, I'm not a farmer, so if you're a professional farmer out there, forgive me for my ignorance.
Okay.
But I do know that I've learned enough that there's ways to take the same piece of land and change what you grow on it in order to not deplete the soil from its key nutrients, in fact, refresh the soil. So the point is that when you have something we talked about like trees or whatever, interest rates go up, interest rates go down. Right? Wars and rumors of wars and tariffs and trade wars and currency wars, and there's the threat of the Fed raising the rates or dropping the rates, or some CEO says something stupid. Those trees don't understand any of that.
They just grow.
They just grow. They just grow and they grow and they grow. And as long as the basic function, the basic need that they serve in humanity's existence doesn't go away, there's going to be demand. And, like anything, you got to pick the right crop and the right operator. And it's a business like anything else, but it's a foundational, fundamental business. And so I think that, you may want to speculate on some of these cutting edge things, and that's fine. You have a part of your portfolio you do that with, but a chunk of your portfolio probably ought to consider being in just bread and butter, basic things that throughout human history have always been valuable, probably throughout the rest of human history will always be valuable. And that way, that you have preserved some wealth and probably have the opportunity for some good growth and income based on having a chunk of your portfolio invested in that type of an asset. And I make the argument that farmland is definitely that kind of an asset.
Our guest today is, in fact, big into agriculture and farming. One of the things we appreciate about him is he's a real estate guy. In fact, a German-born gentleman who has a thriving real estate practice in Germany and Austria, but his family, and we'll get the story from him, figured out that there was opportunity in agriculture. They've been doing it for many, many years. When we come back, you'll meet Karsten Pfau on the Real Estate Guys radio program.
Real estate investment advice right in your mailbox. Sign up for the free Real Estate Guys newsletter at realestateguysradio.com.
If you've been listening to the Real Estate Guys for a while, then you've heard about the legendary Investors Summit. Simply put, it's the highest level event we do, and the content, faculty, and attendees are amazing. If you're serious about taking your real estate investment to the next level, consider joining us. You'll spend an entire week with like-minded investors, world-class educators, and real-world professionals, and you'll have a blast. It all begins March 14th, 2019 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Visit realestateguysradio.com and click the tab that says Summit to learn more and get on the advance notice list. Go to realestateguysradio.com and click Summit and make plans to spend a week with the Real Estate Guys and an all-star faculty on the 17th Annual Investors Summit at Sea.
If you want to retire in the next 5 years or less through real estate, then please pay close attention. My name is Brad Sumrock, and I've taught thousands of my students how to replace their incomes, quit their jobs, and retire faster than they ever thought possible by not investing in single-family homes. You see, there's a secret to retiring fast with little risk, and it has nothing to do with being a landlord, fixing toilets, or flipping houses. The secret is multi-family apartment buildings. Starting from scratch with zero experience, I managed to pocket over $1 million in cash and retire from my 17-year corporate job within 3 years of apartment investing. Now, this is not your typical no money down real estate training. We believe in smart, hard work for intelligent people. So if you're good with your finances, have a decent job, or saving your money, and you're looking for a change and getting out of the rat race, then investing in apartment buildings might just be the answer you've been looking for. Send an email right now to sumrock@realestateguysradio.com to get the details of my upcoming training event. And you'll also receive my free training webinar, Apartment Investing for Beginners. That's Sumrock, SUMROK, @realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, this is Steve Forbes. You're listening to The Real Estate Guys. Have fun. You'll learn something.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Heard every weekend on this great radio station all the time at realestateguysradio.com, talking about one of our favorite uses of real estate and not the conventional use as far as most investors are concerned, and that's agriculture. The gentleman you're about to meet knows a thing or two about that. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Karsten Pfau. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You had joined us for the Investor Summit at Sea this year. It was great getting to know you guys. guys and talking about agriculture.
Oh, that was such a great experience. I enjoyed it so much. Such an interesting crowd. I want to be back next year.
Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to having you there. You know, most real estate investors that we deal with think of real estate in terms of what they're used to. They live in a house. They could rent their house out for money, maybe an apartment building. But, of course, we talk about a lot of different types of real estate. One of the basic uses of real estate since the dawn of time has been agriculture. Tell us how you got into the agricultural business.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned it. Actually, we as a family, we have been real estate developers, real estate investors, construction people actually in Germany and also in South America. And over time we shifted more and more to agriculture for one simple reason actually. When you develop a condominium tower, basically you sell those condominium apartments to people in the city or at least, let's say, in the country. If you're in agriculture, you can sell worldwide your product because, you know, the world population is growing fast and everybody needs to eat and drink. That comes first. Shelter is important, but even if you're homeless, you have to eat and drink. So that's something I like, and I have found out it's so much more easy to sell what we produce when we are in agriculture. We still do conventional real estate, as you put it, but the two legs of our company, the traditional real estate and the agricultural real estate, the latter one actually I enjoy more.
All right, good stuff. Well, it's interesting because as people look out at the opportunity, you know, it makes sense. People have to eat. There's what we call the calorie crunch, right? More people are being born. They're all going to need to eat. We got to figure all that out. But we often talk about the fact, and I'm glad you brought this up, that you don't have to get the market right like you do in traditional real estate. You have to get the product right. So when we approach agriculture, there's all kinds of different ways you can get involved. But you guys have found particular crops, more than one, that makes sense. Talk about the reasons you've chosen the crops you have.
Well, we are doing oranges. We also produce vegetables in greenhouses, which is a little funny since we're in a subtropical country. So we need greenhouses to cool, not to heat, which is something maybe some people find interesting. Yeah, we do oranges because the worldwide market is immense. I mean, it's huge, and especially Asia, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Their hunger for orange juice and also the fruit in the supermarket is tremendous. And where we are in Paraguay, in the heart of South America. You will see 85% of oranges sold in Paraguayan supermarkets are imported. So that's amazing. I mean, that's a market, if I can produce something locally, that people have to pay expensive shipping and customs and stuff to get it into the country, I think I'm in the right market. So I chose oranges first because of the market situation in Paraguay and also worldwide. And at a later stage, supermarkets, our clients for oranges, approached us and said like, hey guys, why don't you produce vegetables? You German guys, you know, apparently know what you're doing. I think we have a good reputation. The farther we are away from our own country, the better our reputation gets. Our clients actually ask us, and then I thought, well, if the client comes to you and said, like, I would buy it if you produce it, I'm on the right spot here.
Absolutely.
So that's basically how we got into it. And as you said before, the investment opportunity actually arose. We as a family were going to invest in it, and just us, my brother and I, and our families together, we would like bring up our money and invest in agriculture. Yep. And we were approached by people who knew us. Said like, you guys seem to make $1 or $2 on this, what you're doing. Can we join in? And this is actually how the idea was born, to invite other people in. So we are not just an investment company that tries to sell something, but we are a family that invests into a field of like oranges or greenhouse, or also we invest in cattle actually. And people pushed us, like, come on, we want to join. Yeah. And out of this came the investment company that we have today, which awesome. Is active in 7 countries and 3 continents.
That's excellent. Well, and I think when you go to another place, then you have to learn everything about it. How did you guys select Paraguay?
Well, my father actually, he bought land there in the 80s. Imagine that. I mean, a long time ago. And he was a German real estate guy, couldn't be far away from South America. And suddenly he reads an article in a newspaper saying, like, if you buy agricultural land in Paraguay, cost you like $0.01 a square meter. We calculate square meters over there. Yeah. And he bought it. Then at some point we went there, we checked it out. we found it very interesting. A young country, a country which is really developing at a high speed, and we wanted a share of the action, basically. This is how we got there. My brother and I, we were still students. We went to Paraguay to check it out. We took our savings and also bought some land. We were approached by farmers. They said, like, you have the land, you don't use it right now. Yeah, that's true. Can we put our cattle on it and you get half of the profits? I said, well, this is amazing. Of course, we do it.
Sure.
This is how we got into agriculture in Paraguay, which is actually, as I said before, German real estate family. Why would we end up in Paraguay? But I have to say, Paraguay is the country with the most competitive cost structure in all Latin America, maybe even in the world. So whatever you produce, no matter if it's real estate, traditional real estate, no matter if it's agriculture or other product, you have developing country cost, lowest cost possible, and then you sell at world market price level. There you have your profit margin. And as you said before, of course, you have to learn the language, which is essential. I always tell people, if you want to do business in a country, learn the language, and then you have to learn mentality. And the local mentality is like another language you have to learn, because people behave so differently in different countries. And imagine, we come from Germany, we have a certain reputation, we are on time, we are like reliable and stuff. And Latin people, they interpret being on time a little bit different than we do. So if you are an hour late, you're too early. And you have to learn that as the same way you learn a language. And that I found interesting for myself. Also, I am traveling to Asia, to the United States, to Russia, and every country has a mentality. And you not only have to learn the language, you also have to learn how to interpret the mentality.
Such a good point. And, it's a big world. And especially with agriculture, a lot of folks serve a local market, like you identified for oranges. But then when you get good at something and you can export, certainly that brings costs, but it's also a way to expand the business. Talk about growing from just, no pun intended, just producing some oranges to now taking a bigger look and bringing along other investors for the process. What has it been like to grow the business?
Yeah, it was an amazing process. We did our first plantation on oranges. Then we invited a few people to come in, to join in. We expected like maybe 10, 15 people to join in, like, friends, family, the typical approach.
Yep.
And we ended up with 500 investors. So we were kind of overwhelmed and thought, well, this is interesting. We found out agriculture usually is a scale kind of approach. So the larger you get, the more cost efficient you are, and the better your profits. Even though you do everything the same, but just out of scale, you get more efficient.
Yep.
So we thought, like, well, if so many people are interested in investing in it, why not putting it on a totally different level? Nowadays we are number 3 in Paraguay. We have the 3rd largest orange plantation, on our way to actually becoming the 2nd or even the largest in the country. We have commissioned a processing plant for juice extract and juice concentrate, and that actually would be exported to Taiwan, to Hong Kong, to mainland China even. The thing is, today we have been approached by companies from Asia, and we cannot fill one order, and that not just refers to us as a company, but to Paraguay as a country. The entire country cannot fill one order for Asian markets. So that's something I want to be in, because if the market is so big, and if demand is growing so fast, and the only challenge I have is to produce more, that's a market I want to be in.
You bet.
My entire life I did real estate, and I did all the marketing stuff and the incentives and how can I sell my condominium apartments. And now I lean back and I get to choose to whom I sell. I enjoy that so much, you have no idea.
All right, well, let's talk about learning the science of agriculture, because what's different than selling condominiums in Germany and growing oranges? How did you figure that part of it out?
Well, first of all, I did business school, as you can imagine. I specialized in finance and banking, imagine that. So, of course, whenever I buy a plant for my home, it dies. I think it commits suicide even. So I'm not the guy who grows the crops on the field, as you can imagine. But what I did, and I think it's always a good approach, you look around who are the best in the business, and then you try to get them to work for you. I think this is an approach that has worked for many other people in other businesses, and we did the same. We looked around who is the best in the business. We made an offer he couldn't refuse, so now he's our general manager for oranges. And then we hired somebody from Brazil who was the plantation manager of Cutrale. Cutrale is the world's largest producer of orange juice. And this guy opened his own company 30 years ago. He knows everything about oranges, everything, and I mean really everything. So, of course, if you hire the best people, maybe I'm good in investment and finance and stuff, but I'm not good in growing crops. But other people are good in growing crops and not good in finance. So we merged together, and now we have, I think, a very great team. A medium-sized, maybe large company already for Latin levels. And, I think this is how you do it. You do it the same in other businesses, and we did the same in our business. You should never think you know it all. I think the best approach is to admit, listen, I have a stronghold in this field. Other people are pretty good in other fields. Let's join forces, and then you have a good outcome.
Awesome stuff. We're talking to Karsten Pfau today about agricultural investment. More when we come back, and we'll play real estate trivia next. You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Live nationwide, you're listening to the Real Estate Guys. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com.
This portion of the Real Estate Guys radio program is brought to you by International Coffee Farms, where you can own a parcel of land in your very own specialty coffee farm in Panama for as little as $15,000. Here's how it works. Deeded half-acre parcels entitled Specialty Coffee Farms in Boquete, Panama are turnkey managed professionally on your behalf by a team of local experts. Sustainable average income is estimated at 12%, and cash flow can begin within 12 to 15 months from the date of your parcel ownership. International Coffee Farms' mission is to own and operate specialty coffee farms that are economically, environmentally, and socially sustainable. As part of this mission, 20% of the gross profits of each farm is committed to a socially sustainable fund to improve the lives of the Panamanian coffee farm workers and their families. International Coffee Farms currently owns and operates 9 specialty coffee farms with half-acre parcels available for immediate ownership. To find out how you can become a coffee farm owner in Boquete, Panama, email coffee@realestateguysradio.com. That's coffee@realestateguysradio.com. Forbes rated Memphis the best cash flow market in the nation, and our good friend Terry Kerr at Mid-South Home Buyers has been the premier turnkey rental property provider in Memphis for over 13 years. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, Terry has renovated over 750 houses. Real Estate Guys listeners have snapped up hundreds. Discover what these satisfied investors already know. Mid-South's properties are completely renovated with a 1-year warranty and a lifelong rental guarantee. They're affordable, well-managed, and easy to own. Perfect for beginning investors and veterans alike. Get in on the action. Contact Terry and his team via email at midsouth@realestateguysradio.com.
Hi, this is Simon Black from sovereignman.com, and you're listening to The Real Estate Guys.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Thanks for tuning into the show. We've just opened registration for Create Your Future, the 2019 Goals Retreat. If you lack clarity in any area of your life, this could be one of the most amazing weekends you'll ever have. Get all the details at realestateguysradio.com under events. We're talking today about the silent tenants, fruits and vegetables and farmland with Karsten Pfau. Before we get back to the interview with Karsten, it's time to play real estate trivia, a chance to win a prize. If you know something about agriculture, in fact, the agriculture we're talking about, and it's tied to real estate, of course, when you hear the real estate trivia question, just send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Include your name, the answer to the question, and your mailing address. Because if you're the winner, we're going to send you a copy of one of my all-time favorite books. It's called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. Not that we're recommending that Karsten adds frogs to his repertoire, but no, Eat That Frog is a time productivity book. You're going to love it. That can be yours if you know today's real estate trivia question. Last week on the Real Estate Guys, we had Kevin Day on the program. It was part 2 of our Cover Your Assets series. We asked this. Kevin had mentioned the Hague Convention, and the Hague Convention, of course, took place in an area of the Netherlands called The Hague. It's actually the 3rd most populated municipality in the Netherlands. Which is the most populated? Well, the answer is Amsterdam, followed by Rotterdam. Here's our real estate trivia question for this week. The first crop, and one of the major crops that Karsten and his family produce, is oranges. Here's what I want to know. Which country produces the most oranges? Of all the countries that grow oranges, which one produces the most? And by the way, they're number 1 by a lot. If you know or you want to guess, send your best guess to trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Trivia@realestateguysradio.com. Include your name, the answer to the question, and your mailing address. If you're the winner, you'll get a copy of Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. That's today's real estate trivia question. We're talking with Mr. Karsten Pfau, and we had a chance to meet on this year's Investors Summit at Sea and hang out with your team for a little bit. It was a lot of fun, and got talking about what you guys do, and it's fascinating in so many ways because you grew this from a family business, investing in your own account, to having some friends come in, to now you allow folks to come in and invest alongside you. So I think one of the things that's daunting about agriculture is just the whole part of how do I figure out land acquisition and soils engineering and find the team you talked about, and then concentrate and juice and shipping and logistics, and oh my. Instead, folks can passively invest with what you're doing. So talk about that evolution of the business.
Yeah, that's true. We found out that people are interested in two things. They want to own land, real estate in general, but land, and they want to get a cut of the action, which I can totally understand.
Yep.
So what we try to do, and I think we have successfully managed, is actually to put those two together. So what we offer our clients is actually you buy a parcel of land, a piece of our land. We already own it, but we sell you a fraction of it. And then you sign a farming contract, a farming agreement with us. We take care of everything. We charge a small fee on that, which is really not that high. And then you get the proceeds, you get the profits. We guarantee that there won't be any more payments you have to make, because as we are your farming partners, we are in charge of everything. And people enjoy that actually, because they get to own the land, it's registered in their name, you get the deed. So this is the first thing, people like that. And then, well, if you just buy land, it's same as if you buy like precious metals. I have like maybe 2 or 3 gold coins in my sock drawer, but it doesn't pay the bills unless I sell it. So how can you combine those two? You want a conservative investment that probably appreciates over a long period of time, but how can you get a yearly income from that, or even a monthly income? That doesn't matter. So, and we try to put those two things together, and people seem to like it a lot. Believe it or not, many German clients of ours, they base their pension plan on that. Imagine that.
Wow. Well, this is one of the things that we actually think is a very unique selling proposition in agriculture, because you can invest in a publicly traded farming company, you can buy shares of stock, but at the end of the day, this is a case, the way you've set it up, where someone owns the real estate, it's deeded to them. So there's a certain, comfort and safety in that, but at the same time, they need to understand your side of the business, which is you guys are going to be responsible for making the return happen through the crops. So how does that work? How long does it take to get up and running? And let's talk about those parts of the investment.
Yeah, I mean, we plant orange trees on your land. First of all, it's your land, it gets registered in your name, and then we plant orange trees on it. Yep. In some cases, we have already planted the trees, but that's a different story. It takes about like 3 years for the tree to grow to a level where it produces enough fruit to be commercialized.
Sure.
So starting from year 4, you get money. Basically, a good, decent return. And then for at least 25 years, you get a paycheck every year from this, from selling our oranges. And this is an amazing thing. And as you said before, as an investor, you should always understand what the company in which you invest does. So I think what we do, we harvest oranges, we sell those oranges. Everybody can understand that. It's something you can also verify very easily. I mean, you have the internet, and you can check out if our numbers are good or bad. You can see if our tree produces enough fruit or not sufficient fruit. And I think those 2 points are very important in investment. You should understand what people do. Even if you don't do it yourself, but you should still, it should be easy to understand and easy to verify. That's something for an investor which is extremely important. For example, for me, I'm not really a tech guy, so to get me to invest in a tech company would be difficult because I would probably never understand it.
Right.
But I have a nephew and a young guy still at school. Probably would invest in the tech company because, young people, they understand the internet and they understand tech in a different way than we do. I think it's the same with whatever you do, you should be able to understand and to verify what you're getting into.
Well, there's 2 things that are important there. One, most people can understand the idea of agriculture, right? Growing food and other commodities that people use. But then there's the part of vetting. It's not just the horse, but the jockey, right? Who's doing the work and so forth. And obviously you guys have started this in your own account and branched out and now built a team. That's kind of a hard thing to do, right? That's the hard, heavy work's been done, if you will. Now what people really want to look at is certainly your track record as the entity that's going to help create the return, but also the crops and their longevity and the demand there and the different places that you're going into. Talk about how you find markets for the product. Are you just now, oranges are just being sold locally in Paraguay? Are you exporting, or how does that part work?
Well, for now we're just selling inside the country.
Yeah.
Because as I said before, 85% of all oranges sold in Paraguayan supermarkets are imported. Imagine people pay more for shipping and customs than they pay for actually buying the oranges.
Sure.
And that doesn't really make any sense in a subtropical country. So we want to occupy that part of the market. We want that Paraguay doesn't have to import any more fruit. So of course it's a challenge there, but I think we're on a good track. Another thing you said, I think it's very important. Who is the company? What is the qualification and the experience of people involved?
Yeah.
Because sometimes people have an amazing idea, but they have no experience in business, and they fail not because their idea isn't good, but because they simply don't have the experience. And I think we are in this country since the 80s. I think if we didn't know what we were doing, we would have been kicked out by now.
Right.
And as I said before, we have hired the best people we could possibly find in this field in Paraguay and in Brazil. And I think that those two things you can easily verify. You can come to visit us. Also, you can use our friend Google or other search engines. I would prefer one.
Yep.
But nowadays, it's pretty easy to verify what people are doing, and you can also verify a reputation and a track record of people, because nowadays everything is available. You find out everything about everybody. So I think we're living in an interesting world nowadays. So, and I'm pretty confident that we would be the right choice, since we are so long in this country. Also, I think we combine two things. We have the German umbrella. There you have the typical German reliability, trustworthiness, I would say. And also, we have managed to understand Latin America. Because, as I said before, you not just learn the language. I definitely speak better Spanish than I speak English. But also, I managed to learn the mentality. Now, when somebody in Paraguay says yes, is it really a yes, or is it a yes/no? And those are the things you have to get into, and you have to manage to understand. I think we have done that, and a long time we are in this country, quite successful, I believe. The best thing, of course, come to visit.
Absolutely. Come and see what it's all about, which we're planning to do. Can't wait to get down there and see what you guys have going on. Hey, let's talk about kind of what it takes to get involved in investment. You're talking about buying an actual parcel. What are the minimum sizes, maybe minimum amounts that you have to buy? How does that part work?
Yeah, we did it in a way that it's very accessible, because people who would be in a position to invest a large amount of money often just want to check out the investment with a small amount, see if they're comfortable with us as a company and what we do. So we started to sell parcels that are 1.2 acres, which is, since in Paraguay we have square meters, it would be 5,000 square meters, half a hectare, but in acres would be 1.23 acres. And that you can acquire for $35,000. I think that's not that high.
Right.
And you get everything with that. 3-4 years of payroll, pest control, watering. You buy, of course, also the trees, all the work involved. And you never have to pay anything else again. That's our guarantee. You invest one time and never have to pay anything ever again. If there are any losses, we cover your losses. That's our pledge as your farming partner.
Got it. And then as the crop matures, you mentioned that the crops are going to go on for years and years and years. Is there a time in the future where you need to replant or change out the crops or any of that kind of stuff?
Usually a good normal orange tree for at least 25 years will produce enough oranges to have enough to sell, actually.
Yeah.
So if at some point the tree doesn't produce enough anymore, then you can basically cut it and sell it as firewood, which gives you a pretty neat payment. Then you can use the money or to plant new trees, or just do something else with it, or sell your land, or build your home or in Paraguay if you want to. So you have several options here. The interesting part, when you have to wait 3 years, which is probably the only, maybe a little bit of drop in your ring here.
Right.
But from year 4 you start to get $4,000 or $5,000 paid out. When you have invested $35,000, it's already not that bad, and it goes as high as $12,000, $15,000 per plot per year. If you calculate the percentage, I think you will find it quite interesting, and that goes on for 25 years. Imagine that.
That's awesome. So I think folks, if they want to learn more, there's a couple of ways to do that. Probably the easiest way is to send an email to oranges@realestateguysradio.com. Now, Karsten does a lot more than oranges, and this will be just kind of an introduction, and you can find out about the other crops and the cattle and things you guys do. But if you'll send an email to oranges@realestateguysradio.com, you'll get more information on what these guys do. Tell us, Karsten, if you will, what are some of the things that you've kind of learned over the years? Being a guy that was a real estate guy in Germany, and you understood, kind of the bricks and mortar and residential and selling that, and making the leap into agricultural. What are the lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, as I said before, I like real estate, the traditional real estate. I like residential, I like commercial real estate, and I still do it. We as a company, we still do it. We haven't left that.
Right.
We still love it and we still do it, but the approach is so different. The marketing is a different challenge here, and the financing, the selling, the market usually has to be right there. There are maybe a few cities in the world, such as Miami or here in Las Vegas, where you can sell your real estate worldwide. But most cities, actually, you have a real estate project and you have to find your market right there. And in agriculture, we can sell bovine meat, soybeans, oranges, or vegetables. You have a worldwide market. You can sell it in Africa, in Asia, in Arab countries, in Europe, in the United States. Everybody wants it. And that I like. I like that a lot. And also I like that I can lean back and choose to whom to sell. That never actually happened to me before in real estate. And we did great real estate project and people loved it. But still we had a lot of rowing to do to get the buyer to sign a contract.
Yeah.
And now it's the other way around. People are kind of complimenting me on how good I look just to sign a contract and sell them my product. And I love that, actually. I can be a little vain, but I love that. And it's a completely different approach. And I think other companies who are also in agriculture experience the same. And of course, the world population is growing, we said that before, but also the world is getting richer, believe it or not. Even when you hear about, now the rich are getting richer, that may be true, but also people who have been poor before are less poor today. And people underestimate that, especially in Asia, in China. You have a middle class. You never had a middle class there. Now you have a middle class that's getting stronger and stronger. And middle class Chinese people, they want bovine meat. They want orange juice. They don't want the cheap stuff. They want the good stuff. And they want their neighbor to see that they have the good stuff on their table. That's why they leave their window open at lunch. That's true. True story. And you have the same in other regions of the world. You have people always focus on the rich and the poor, but they tend to forget the middle class. And middle class in so many regions in the world is growing, and this middle class has a hunger for high quality food and of course water, always a thing. But that's an amazing overview for your market and for your potential, and we want to be in that.
Awesome. Well, hey, great stuff. We appreciate you being on the program today. Listen, if you're interested in learning more about how agriculture works and really what the opportunity is in oranges in Paraguay and the rest of the stuff that these guys are working on, which is awesome, just send an email to oranges@realestateguysradio.com. Karsten, always good to see you. Thanks for being on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it, as always. Thank you so very much.
And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next Summit at Sea.
I will definitely be there. I wouldn't want to miss it for nothing.
You're tuned to the Real Estate Guys radio program. I'm your host, Robert Helms.
Need help with your real estate investment portfolio? Check out the resources page at realestateguysradio.com.
Are you achieving everything you want in life? What if there was a time-tested way for you to get everything you've ever dreamed of? The most successful people in life set goals and keep themselves accountable for their achievement. But how? The good news is that it's not rocket science. You too can learn the skills and unleash the motivation that will create success in your life. And now is the time. Hi, this is Robert Helms, and I'd like to personally invite you to attend Create Your Future, the 2019 Goals Retreat, January 18th to 20th in beautiful Lake Las Vegas, Nevada. This unique weekend event has been called phenomenal, inspirational, and life-changing by the hundreds of people that have attended. Find out more at realestateguysradio.com under events, or call 888-489-7723, extension 18. Get your life back on track, physically, spiritually, and financially. Attend the 2019 Goals Retreat on the third weekend of the new year. Click events at realestateguysradio.com to register. This is no dress rehearsal. Live the life you were meant to. Visit realestateguysradio.com or call 888-489-7723, extension 18 today.
Hi, this is Patrick Donahoe, CEO of Paradigm Life. Wall Street and banks spend billions of dollars per year in advertising with the goal to convince you that they are the solution. But take a look around. None of their advice has worked. If you're listening to this, odds are pretty good that you're already a real estate investor, or at least becoming one. So why do you do it? Is it to hedge inflation, the tax benefits, or maybe it's to get your money away from Wall Street? It's because of these benefits and so many more that I created the Real Estate Investor's Guide to the Perpetual Wealth Strategy. When you combine successful real estate investing with the Perpetual Wealth Strategy, you have the recipe for what has helped the wealthy to establish their financial well-being for decades. You can download the Real Estate Investor's Guide to the Perpetual Wealth Strategy today by clicking the Resources tab on the Real Estate Guys Radio homepage. Don't wait, go download it now.
Hi, this is Chris Martinson, author of Prosper, and you are listening to The Real Estate Guys.
And welcome back to the Real Estate Guys radio program. Hey, if you've ever wanted to do bigger deals using other people's money, come on out to the Secrets of Successful Syndication. It happens in the middle of September in Dallas, Texas. You can get all the details at realestateguysradio.com under events. We're talking today about investing in farmland and agriculture, and a pretty entertaining guy listening to Karsten.
No, it's funny. You just got done promoting our syndication seminar, which I think is great. And one of my very first interests in farmland was the idea, you hear, hey, if kind of the world goes crazy and you just want to make sure you've guaranteed your source of food, it'd be a good idea to have, like a garden.
Right.
Well, you know what? I'm about being prepared, but I'm not about gardening. So I don't want to garden. So I thought, well, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to go buy like a community garden and then get a bunch of other families together to invest in the garden and then hire people to run the garden and then just run it as a business so that it is deductible and all that. And then I'm first in line to get food if I ever needed food, and then that was kind of my first foray into the idea of, hey, how could we combine syndication with agriculture? Of course, I've learned a lot more since then. I found out there's a lot better ways to do it. There's big existing operations and things that you can do. But again, it just goes back to this notion that it's a basic, fundamental human need, satisfying investment where you have some security in your portfolio. And the key then is to align, whether you do it in your local community or whether you do it in Latin America or whether you do it on the other side of the earth. It doesn't matter. But you're going to have the right boots on the ground. You're going to have people who know what they're doing, who really know how to run a farm profitably and get the product to market and get it sold and give you your income stream. But once you've got that, it's just like anything else. Now you've got something. And if you're dealing with someone who's got enough scope and scale that as you get bigger and bigger and you want to buy more and more, there's going to be more there. That's always one of the big challenges, right? When you go out and you're looking for deal flow, a lot of times rookie mistake with investors is they do a one-off deal. And if it's a small deal and you do a one-off deal, you spend all the money on due diligence, you spend all the money on travel, you spend all the money on learning about what you're doing, and then you go do the one-off deal and you amortize that due diligence into your little deal. And, it's hard to make it worth it. If you're able to do something bigger or you're able to find a pipeline of deal flow where all that due diligence leverages into deal 1, deal 2, deal 3, deal 4, you can continue to expand your exposure to that space without bringing that due diligence fee or that due diligence expense into the mix. And so kind of like that when guys are thinking big and they're doing bigger projects, they make room for people that either want to play big or go big through syndication or just by moving more and more of their own account into an asset class or an investment type.
Well, and interesting that, Karsten didn't really start this business with scale in mind, but figured out pretty quickly that there were efficiencies and economies of scale as you got bigger, and that it didn't take 5 farm scientists to have 5 different farms. One guy who was the right guy could figure that stuff out. And of course, then there's the whole, logistical part and a way to expand a business like this. Found it interesting that their original crop, oranges, isn't something they're yet exporting, but here's what was interesting to me is that they found in the market there in Paraguay where they are that 85%, I think he said, of the oranges that are in the market are imported at a great cost, therefore they're more expensive. So just in the local market, they could meet that need. But the way they're planning to expand isn't necessarily to ship oranges in other places, because it is a crop that expires, but they're creating a juice and pulp situation where they'll be able to actually harvest the oranges locally at their prime, but then send the juice or the pulp to the places it needs to be used.
One of the things that really is interesting to me, again, going back to that conference we went to where we looked at American farming.
Yeah.
Well, you look at American farming, and American farmers have top equipment. They have top technology.
And they pay high wages.
But I'm just saying, it's not the investment, it's the fact that they're already at a high level of efficiency.
Right.
So as a value-add investor, when you go look for an apartment building, you're looking for an apartment building that is undermanaged, it's underperforming, there's room to improve. We have a friend who does real estate development in Belize. You're going to do real estate development in Belize, and you're dealing with a country that does not have a high level of sophistication in the trades, does not have a lot of equipment, and you can go into a place that's a little behind the curve, and you can bring in cutting-edge technology and economies of scale and things that they can't do on their own. And there's a little bit more meat on the bone. That's one of the things that's really fascinated me with the folks that we work with that have gone into these countries where they are able to acquire farmland that is vastly underutilized.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the value they create. They bring in the economy of scale, they bring in the sophistication, they bring in the capital to put those things in place, and it leaves enough meat on the bone for investors to come in and get a decent return. And it's, again, and I'm not saying that you can't do it in the U.S., I'm just saying the contrast for us was looking at what was going on in the U.S. and how much opportunity there really was versus what there was out of the U.S. We felt like the better opportunities were offshore, which is why we put so much of our emphasis on bringing those types of voices to the show so people can get exposed to those kind of opportunities.
Now, we got to hang out a little bit with Karsten at the Investors Summit this year, and he's already excited about coming back next year, and it's great because you get different farmers, if you will, together. And I don't just mean in agriculture. We have several agricultural experts on the summit, but also people that are in other places doing other types of real estate, getting those whole ideas, and I know he certainly took a lot away, and he added a lot of value at the event. So make plans to join us for the 17th Annual Investors Summit at Sea. It's coming up in March of next year. So for all the information and details, go to realestateguysradio.com and click on the button that says Summit at Sea. Hey, big thanks to Karsten. If you're interested in learning more about what they do and how you might participate in that, they do lots of different crops, but they started in oranges, so just send an email to oranges@realestateguysradio.com and you get all their details. Next week on the show, we've got a great program. Until then, go out and make some equity happen.
This episode of the Real Estate Guys radio show is brought to you by Paradigm Life. Powerful cash management strategies using life insurance. Learn more at beyourbank.com. Mid-South Home Buyers. Low-cost, turnkey cash flow properties in Memphis, Tennessee. Corporate Direct. Asset protection strategies for real estate investors from attorney and Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton. Find these and other great companies under the Resources tab at realestateguysradio.com. To learn how you can expose your product or service to the Real Estate Guys audience, call 888-489-7723 extension 4. That's 888-489-7723 extension 4. Or use the feedback page at realestateguysradio.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week right here on the Real Estate Guys Radio Show.